Welcome back to the Real Estate 401k Show. I'm your host, Mike Weinstein, alongside Justin Frederick and Ryan Gerdes. You're going to want to text the word CAP to 623-AZ-RECON. That's CAP to 623-AZ-RECON. Now,
you know that CAP is like a kid saying now, right?
What does it mean?
Like when you say like no cap, it means no lie. Like it's like kid jargon.
oh, really?
It's
There's all kinds of slang words.
and it's probably old by now because like whenever I'm making fun of my kids, like I'll try to speak their lingo and they get pissed at me.
Oh yeah, I do it to my
Same
kids all
thing.
the time. One time, and I got my son here. He talked me into buying this Knight Rider ring. And
Heck yeah.
It's a cool ring, and I put it on. And he's like, "Dad, dude," he goes, "You got the drip." I'm like, "I have no idea what that means, but it sounds like a compliment."
Yeah.
So now I got the drip.
Yeah, I tried telling my kids, I got Riz, no cap. And they're like, "Dad, I hate you so much." And I'm like,
I still use the word rad, right? Rad is probably one of the best slang words of all time. All right. Anyways, wow. So now what we're going to talk about, obviously, we don't know what is going to happen because we obviously, in the last couple weeks, President Joe Biden has stepped down not stepped down. He's not running for re-election this year. And so what we're going to talk about.
he stepped down.
Well, my point is he's still going to be president until January. So
okay,
what we're
got
about
it.
to say,
He dropped out of the race.
he dropped out of the race.
Yeah.
But he could push this through. And this is, for me, and this
He
is
could try.
This is not necessarily about politics and who whether you're red or you're blue. This is about investors. This is about landlords. This is about just having, the government coming in and telling us and putting caps and limiting our ability to make money and control the amount of money that we can make. So anyways, President Biden's has a plan that, in essence, if it goes through, will penalize corporate landlords who raise rent more than 5% each year. And according to this article and according to the government, a corporate landlord is a entity that has more than 50 units. So we're not necessarily talking to someone who owns 2 or 3 rental properties, but I'd beg to say, if this goes through, where does it stop? Because the effort here is trying to get control of rental prices and they're and becoming unaffordable for people. But the Biden administration wants to penalize corporate landlords who raise rents by more than 5% each year. This is another form of rent control, and it destroyed parts of California, especially LA, and really hurt landlords because of rent control. This is just another form of rent control.
I think that if they're going to do this, they need to apply it to everything, and then it would just be amazing. Like for sure, that you can't raise rents by more than 5%. You can't raise the price of gas by more than 5%, grocery by 5%, all these things. So for all these big corporations, right? So can't raise by more than 5%, and then that would make a lot of consumers happy, right? But if you work for that corporation, they can never give you a raise more than 5% a year. You got to shut the fuck up, right? like all this stuff, it blows my mind how is this any different than communism, really? Like going over there saying, "Hey, look, we're a free market. You have the right to go out there and make money, but the moment that you own 50 units or more, now you're no longer you have to live under our government thumb because, well, God forbid you should make too much money, right? God forbid that you're not doing it the way that we want it. So I'm all about this, but just keep it all across the board, right? Like make it fair on all fronts. And then let's see how that actually impacts the economy, because no one's going to want to work for a company that they only cap out at 5% a year on raises if they're doing a phenomenal job, and they should, go from being the bagger at a grocery store to now the manager. Well, I guess you're only getting a 5% income raise. Like it's just ludicrous to
and
me.
what if we did that to across professional sports as well?
What if we did
football
that?
players?
Oh, yeah.
You made $3 million last year. I don't know what 5% of $3 million, but that's your raise.
Yeah.
You can't just penalize one aspect of a society because you're trying to help an aspect of society. And again, this is not to be political, but this is about free market. And I feel like this country has done, I mean, we've got our issues and we've got our problems. There's no question about it. But we have done, that is the premise of America, is a free market. We cannot be in the habit of telling people of how much money you can get paid.
Yeah, and maybe I'm just not going to pay any taxes. Can't raise that by 5%.
I bet you.
Last year, I paid $2,000 in taxes.
I bet you they raised their property taxes more than 5% in a year.
Yeah.
I bet you.
Yeah, it's like, this is just silly. I'm perfectly fine with getting political on it, but I don't even think that this is a political thing. I think that this is
It's just silly.
I think that this is just some ploy Biden came up with. Like, oh gosh, do you think I might be able to get 2 more votes from people that are having a hard time paying their rent? And I don't know, just dumb ideas.
It is a dumb idea, Justin. But the problem that you have is you always got to go to the motives. The marketing motives. Obviously, the motives here, anything a politician does, this is just not a Biden thing, anything a politician does is all about getting votes. That's truly the motive, right? Okay, but...
And it's not even a Republican Democrat. I think Obama would have had a hell of a lot better plan than this stupid idea. Clinton would have had a hell of a lot better plan. It's not a Republican Democrat thing. Like I just look at this and I'm like, this is absolutely insane.
Okay, but insane or not insane, it is something that is seriously being floated and something that is being talked about. And capping rents by 5% to corporate landlords. Now, Justin, so obviously, as I was saying, the true motive is always, whenever a politician opens their mouth, the motive's always getting more votes. We understand that. But they have a marketing motive here, and they have that motive that they're trying to present to the public to pull on our heartstrings and try to motivate. And this is what concerns me, because right now, the media so much is, oh God, housing is so unaffordable for people, and rent is so unaffordable for people, and it looks good on paper if you're not a landlord, if you're not an investor. This plan looks pretty damn good. Hey, we're going to help people who can't afford their rent by capping. They don't understand how that really impacts.
It rolls out.
It rolls out and everything.
Board.
And the media could get a hold of this and really start just pounding this down. And people will look at this and say, hey, no problem. Corporate America, these corporations, they own all of these buildings. We don't care, and they're making too much money. But it always starts somewhere. The next step, if this possibly goes through, and I agree with Ryan, it's ludicrous. It's not going anywhere.
It's not going to get through the House and the Senate.
But let's say it does go through. Next thing you know, it's going to be now landlords that own more than 35 properties.
Yeah,
own more than 20 properties. Now, let's get down to our audience. A lot of our investors own 3, 4, 5, 8 rental properties. This would be staggering.
Mm-hmm. Gosh.
I feel like there would be a lot of transitions of assets, real estate assets at that point. I mean, just so you can reset the rent to be equivalent to the market of what's going on. I mean, there's got to be loopholes within something like this.
Always loopholes,
yeah. They're going to dilute the shit out of their corporations, and then they're going to create a new corporation for every 50 units they own.
Right.
And then they'll do it again whenever it goes down to 35.
And then they'll figure it out.
Yeah,
right.
like it's
but
just
still, you're still making more paper pushing in order to get through something like this. It's just more work.
Yeah.
And then that cost is going to be passed on to the consumer anyways at the end of the day.
So my question, I mean, and I haven't even really put a whole lot of thought into it, because in my opinion, markets they're reactive to each other. Cost of living goes up, rents go up, cost of living goes down, rents go down, because it's just kind of like a cyclical thing and a circular thing. But that being said, what is the answer, or is there a problem?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, okay. Oh man, that's a fully
that's a
fully
big,
loaded
I mean,
question. There is a problem, right?
Okay.
But the problem extends beyond greedy landlords, if that's what you want to call them. I'm not calling them greedy landlords, but when I read this and hear what the Biden's administration's take on this, you're basically saying landlords are greedy because you wouldn't cap how much money I could make if you didn't think I was greedy. And is that necessarily the solution to helping people afford rent? No, it always goes back to the damn government. It's everything that they are doing to put the burden on every American to make it more expensive for us. Okay, it's always the government, in my opinion. It's all the regulations. It's all the intrusion in how I'm running my business, how I'm living my life, and everything. So much of what we pay for and have to deal with, it costs so much more money because of the government. And then now for the government to say, hey, I'm good. We're not culpable here. This is not an us problem. This is, hey, how about this, government? Why don't you cap how much taxes you're bringing in? And you know what you should do is why don't you give a refund back to the land or back to the tenant to reduce their rent? Okay, but they can't. They can't afford it. But even if they did, then guess who's got to pay for it? We got to pay for it. It's always the government.
Right.
It's always the problem's always the government, in my opinion.
All right. So what's the solution? How
above
do you,
my pay grade.
How do you think that is there a solution to affordable housing?
Well, I think you make incentives on
That's what I was saying.
on making affordable housing out there. And what I mean by incentives is give incentives to builders to build more affordable, smaller units for people to rent. There's got to be incentives out there to get people to spend their money and still be able to make money as
I agree,
as
100%.
a citizen and still help out individuals that don't make as much money.
Yeah, incentivize. Instead of capping what the landlords can make, incentivize them to lower rents. But they can't incentivize the landlords because the government doesn't have the money because they spend so much darn money on crap. But that would be the solution if they really care, if the government really cares. The government finds the money, incentivize these landlords to make rent more affordable. It's not the landlord's job. The landlord's job, because here's the other problem, Ryan, it's easy just to say, oh, a landlord owns 50 or more doors. We don't know the full picture. It's easy if that landlord bought a 50-door apartment building 30 years ago, paid a lot less money as opposed to someone going out this year buying a 50-unit building. It's not the same, and you have to take into account all of those numbers. So you just can't make a blanket statement and say, let's go after the landlords.
Sure, and I also think that for me, this is not something where it's just one term or one policy takes care of it. I mean, I think that it starts at a whole lot of different levels. I think that it starts at the education level. I mean, I barely learned how to balance my checkbook in high school, and then they felt like, oh well, he's equipped for the economics of a household.
And Justin barely learned how to read out of high school.
Like amortized interest was never taught to me. Debt was never taught to me. Well, when you buy a car, what that looks like between registration, insurance, wear and tear, gas, all the money that's involved in just owning just a thing, right? Everyone wants to get a dog. What does it cost to own a dog? They're not taking into account all these different things, and then they get dealt with some real life stuff, and then they're all living paycheck to paycheck, and then they're blaming it on, my greedy landlord is making it so that get rid of that, $1,000 iPhone. Get rid of the 5 dogs that you got. You know what I mean? Like, learn how to live within your means, and you're going to start doing better at your job, making more money, and then you can level up and you can afford more rent to live in a nicer place or buy your own property. Like all these things. Like, I think it starts at a very foundational level, but you can't come in there even if you have 8 years and really see improvement, because it's something that starts at just the most infant level, and you're not going to see those changes for 20 years later. So it's, I think part of it is just, the gates have already been opened. Can it be fixed? Yeah, but it is not a 1 or 2 term type of fix, and it's not just a 1 policy or 2 policy fix, and it's all the parties working together fix and finding what is actually going to work based on like some serious research on how people are thinking and need that type of education and those types of habits and that type of exposure to opportunity as they get older. So, I just look at this and I just think this is like
okay. But I also think, but this is a good education. It's a good education lesson for a lot of our listeners, and especially for our listeners that have kids. I think because if you live in a, let's just call it a 50-unit apartment building, okay, and you look at this and go, okay, I really like this idea. The government is going to cap how much my rent's going to go up. So my landlord is going to only increase my rent only by 5%. Sometimes what I don't realize as that tenant, when my next door neighbor vacates and they've destroyed the carpet and they've destroyed the kitchen and they've left the place a mess, and now that landlord has to come in, they got to pay for somebody to take that stuff. And you know what? The prices to have that house cleaned this year are different next year. They're higher. They've got general utility bills. They've got landscaping things that they've got to take care of. Landlords, their cost goes up, and by and sometimes, especially with all the inflation that we've seen in the last couple of years, 5% increase in rent isn't going to cover it.
No,
and so there's just so much that goes into it.
Right. Yeah. I know as a investor and as a real estate owner, over the past 5 years, my everything, my cost of labor, my cost of materials, maybe not all my utilities, but have gone up damn near 100%.
Yeah.
All right, I'm not sure how to really bring this home, but if you are a landlord thinking about becoming a landlord and really looking for strategies on how to maximize your profits, how to maximize your business model, this is what we do. It's what we do for a living. We're all 3 investors ourselves. We'd love to have that opportunity with you. More importantly, if you've never invested, I want to talk to the person that says, hey, I'm ready to invest. I've never invested in real estate. I want to get going. I want to be on that path to building wealth in real estate. We would love to chat with you. All you got to do is text the word CAP, C-A-P, to 623-AZ-RECON. All right, Justin, it is fun time. Friday fun day.
All right.
Okay, so it's Friday. Where are we going?
We're going best breakfast location restaurant.
All right.
Who's going first?
Doesn't matter to me.
All right, I'll start. I never go first. So my favorite breakfast place, and I'm telling you, I am married to a woman that frickin' loves herself some breakfast. I don't ever have to take her out for dinner for Valentine's Day. We stopped
She wants breakfast.
She just wants breakfast.
That's
and,
awesome.
And she's happy. So we found this place really close to our house called 40th Street Cafe. It is on Greenway and 40th Street. It is a flippin' hole in the wall. They know you when they walk in. They don't ask you where you want to sit. They tell you. I mean, you're family there. I mean, it is true family. And they've got an amazing breakfast menu. The service is fantastic. It's just great, but it is a small hole-in-the-wall joint. It is never going to be a franchise.
I've actually been there once, and so I'll tip my hat to them, and it is good. But the honorable mention, because I'm going to go throw 2 of them out there unless you...
I'm good with that.
Okay, all right. Honorable mention over to Chompy's, because we
Yeah.
go there all the time
Oh, yeah.
because it's kind of like a midpoint between us, and it's just it's good.
Remember
it's
that day we
everything.
drove around trying to find a breakfast place that had a bar, and we ended up at Chompy's. And they all have beer and wine.
Yeah.
But we wanted a bar.
We
It was
wanted-
9
we
o'clock
wanted
in the morning. We needed a bar.
I got one for you.
Yeah, and so my number one has a full bar, and it is the epitome of a hole in the wall. There's not even a
Oh, my
sign
God,
there.
I know where you're going.
And it is called Dick's Hideaway. It's over off of 16th Street in Bethany, pretty much in Central Phoenix. And
So good.
It's just head and shoulders above. It is New Mexican style cuisine.
Okay.
So
good.
it is unbelievable. So imagine enchiladas with
Green chili.
Yes.
with eggs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then you get a Bloody Mary and they give you a shot of beer on the side of it.
Yes.
You
And
know,
the
or-
tortillas are cooked over flame.
Yeah, that they were handmade that morning, and everything is scratch made. Bring your appetite, or share, because these are massive plates of food, and it's just never ending yumminess.
Well, it's important to note. It is called Dick's Hideaway for a reason. It cannot be found on Yelp. You can't. You got to know where it is.
right.
I've had a hard time. You got to know
Like I said,
where
there's,
it is.
There's a sign. There's no sign.
There's no sign. There's just something in the window.
Right. It's so just so you know, it's on the northwest corner of 16th Street in Bethany, right next to the Lucy's Marketplace over there, and so it's in a strip mall. And so the strip mall is kind of like an L, and it hugs the intersection. So it's kind of a little bit further
So
on the.
good.
It's just north of Lucy's, and it is unreal. And the other, my other kind of this is kind of stupid, but I think it's cool. You walk in, you can walk in through the kitchen, through the back, and so you feel like you're like old, Goodfellas, hey, you've kind of walking through there, and they're doing dishes and cooking things and whatnot, and you just walk right through and get in there, and then just it's kind of like a dark, no windows, sleepy little hole in the wall, and you don't know. You might get your own table. They might put you at a table with 2 other families there, and you just share it.
And you might be doing dishes. You don't know.
You don't know. And then the service is excellent. The food is just top notch. So that's my spot.
All right.
So we were in there. This is going to be a long episode. Ryan and I are in there one day. We're drinking and eating, and the stupid dogs in there just yelping
God.
and just yelping and yelping, and just wouldn't shut up. And so I don't know whether it was you or I, but the
that was
server
me.
came over, and you're like, what the hell's going on with the dog? Like, how does this?
Shut
what do
this loud ass dog up.
And the guy goes, yeah, that's the owner's dog. That's the owner and their dog. So we ended up with free drinks.
Yeah. They're like, hey, sorry about that. Here's some free drinks, and I'm just like,
All right, Justin.
okay.
Breakfast.
All right. So
Breakfast.
I like the place. Have you guys ever been
Mike
to the
and
place?
Rhonda's?
Yeah,
Hell
Mike
yeah.
and Rhonda's. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
heck yeah.
And that's kind of like to me, that's like a family. When it was at the old location, very family oriented, knew who we were every time we walked in. And
I have a different experience, but go ahead.
yeah.
Because you went to NAU, right?
I went to NAU.
NAU, it's right across the street up there, too. Yeah.
He's had a lot of experiences with Mike and Rhonda's.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So hangovers and stuff there.
Oh yeah. Well, I didn't have a family back then,
Sure.
so it was just a bunch of us
Yeah.
hungover college students.
Sure.
Like, all
That
right,
place is amazing.
yeah.
Yeah. They big portions, full bar. Like getting their Bloody Marys are fantastic. I really enjoy that place. 51st Avenue and Bell Road.
Yep.
Just a little west of 51st Avenue.
Different feel than the one in Flagstaff.
Yeah.
But equally as amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I agree.
All right, folks, if you're looking for how to invest in real estate and where to have breakfast, go ahead and text the word CAP to 623-AZ-RECON. That's CAP to 623-AZ-RECON.